Greetings everyone. I'm Ishita Shrivastava, and with me is Satvik Mishra from Tasveer. If you are new to our channel, Tasveer is an effort to make the reporting, processing, and redressal of cybercrimes of sensitive nature less tedious. Such crimes include revenge porn, upskirting, image-based sexual harassment, cyber flashing, etc. It uses awareness to remove the hesitant nature of victims of such crimes and provide them with protective measures against it. For this, it uses podcasts, interviews, and blogs with renowned experts from the field. Today, we welcome Rodney D. Ryder, a founding partner with Scriptboard, a full service law firm with an intellectual property, technology, and media specialist practice. He is the author of Guide to Cyber Laws, the IT Act 2000, e commerce, data protection, and the Internet, the first section wise analysis of the Indian Information Technology Act 2000. Presently, Mr. Ryder is advisor to the Ministry of Communications and Information Technology, Government of India, on the implementation of the IT Act 2000. He is also an advisor to the National Internet Exchange of India and a member of the panel of independent and neutral arbitrators with NIXI. We are extremely grateful to have you here, sir. We have a bunch of
Thank
questions
you.
lined up. With your permission, I would like to hand it over to Satvik Mishra to begin with the questions.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. It is an absolute honor to be here, and I look forward to the questions and, of course, to spending this time with both of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir.
Hello, sir. So, starting right off the bat, Ishita introduced you very well as somebody who knows, I believe, has the most knowledge about the IT Act, and you know the author of the first section-wise analysis of the IT Act. So, I personally think that you've seen the advent of the IT Act, how it came into existence, and how it has been applied through time. So how have you seen the field of cyber law say evolve in India? And what do you think are the most significant challenges that the country faces, be it the implementation of the law or be it the creation of the law or whatever, so on and so forth?
Right. Satvik, first of all, thank you, for your kind words. And yes, I have been lucky in that my career has been sort of, uh, you know, contemporaneous with the rise of internet law. 25 years ago, I started as a young lawyer straight out of law school. And then when we looked at internet law, when we looked at cyber law, it was, as many perceived, on the periphery of our lives, on the periphery of the economy, and people were wondering what would happen, how this would evolve. Um, Fortunately, there were some of us who realized that this was going to be all pervasive one day. And still, I believe that that day has not come. But enough progress has been made in this last quarter of a century so that technology has become an integral part of each and every aspect of our lives, whether as students, whether as young professionals, in the way we run our homes, in the way we run our businesses. And we are lucky that we've lived through this era and we are living through this era. There's a lot to be done. And I think this is a very exciting uh, area of technology and law. It is also an area which will keep us on our toes and keep us cautious and alert. Uh, and of course, lots will happen in the years to come.
Definitely, sir. Like, the demographic that we are living in, everybody has access to the internet right now. So, and considering that if we see, say, Western countries, we see that a lot of laws have been implemented elsewhere also. Say, for example, we take the example of GDPR as well. Say, the Europe has GDPR, the US has different set of laws governing, say, data protection, data privacy, etc. In India, do you feel that there is, say, a like the government right now, also the legislative framework is currently figuring out a bill regarding privacy and data protection. So, do you feel like the legislature feels that there is a lack of proper governance framework regarding privacy? So, what is your input on the same? How do you think India should see laws regarding data protection, data privacy, fields that are still unexplored by India in the field of cyber law?
Right. See, from a citizen standpoint, from a constitutional standpoint, privacy is a crucial aspect of our lives, of our citizens, and it is important that we have the necessary apparatus. Our courts have been prompt and active, and there have been a series of interesting judgments over the years. I think that is incumbent now on the legislature, on the government of the day, to be even more proactive. Governments in India have done good work. We've got some good legislation in place. But also, I think it is important for all of us to remember that certain areas of law, such as technology, such as privacy, need constant improvement and a constant unwavering focus. We cannot treat it the way we've treated other laws or other principles, other uh, mechanisms which have stayed the same because the problems have stayed the same over the years. For example, penal codes have come down the centuries, and we've had a penal code for the last 150 years or more, which has required tweaks and has got tweaks. Some believe not enough, but it has been tweaked and it does not require a lot of intervention. We must know that thanks to the surveillance economy, thanks to the way data is being collected, stored, and mined, we need to act quickly. We need to be on constant alert. And if we are not too shy or not timid of making mistakes, I think we will do well.
So, in your opinion, sir, as you've been very connected with the government, you've been advising the government, you've been working with Pixie also. So, as far as the tech law that we see today, what do you think is, a challenge that the government is facing while implementing, more concrete laws as compared to other nations across the globe? What do you think is the government facing as a significant challenge to implement a good hardcore law regarding, say, data privacy or say any other, important field of tech law?
Right. I believe that governments in India have not lacked the will, except that there have been problems when it comes to uniformly, allocating resources. There is a real divide in India between established metro cities and say areas which where you know there are lesser facilities or lesser awareness. Uh, Using technology, the government has tried to make uh, citizens aware. And that is where, of course, initiatives such as yours are most heartening and most required, because this is not something that we can place at the door of the government alone. All of us need to contribute. We need to be there educating people. We need to be uh, focusing on the problems that have come about, and of course, if necessary, from time to time, prod the government into enacting new laws. Uh, Having said that, uh, education at the level of the law enforcement officers needs to be improved. And this is an observation across the board, across the country. Uh, education among the citizens needs to be improved, whether it is at the school, college, or university level. And there I repeat, once again, conversations like this, and of course, initiatives such as Tasveer are so important for all of us to get the message across so there's more discussion, debate, and dialogue. Once that discussion, debate, and dialogue has happened and is happening, I believe firmly that action will also follow.
Well said, sir. Adding to your point of, say, providing more knowledge and providing more training, specifically not just to citizens, but specifically to people of the law enforcement division. I believe Shreya Singhal was one of the most landmark things in this regard when 66A was, washed. And still, after a certain point in time, there were FIRs filed in the section, and then, a order was passed to all the stations across the country to not file FIRs in the same. So I believe that was one of the major steps taken, to educate the law enforcement officers as well. Now, apart from talking about the legislative framework, I see you've also been in the field for quite a long time. You've been to courts regarding cyber law issues. You've represented clients, etc. So, what do you think are the biggest threats that not just the government, challenges for the government? What are the biggest threats do you think are individuals and business entities facing across the country? And how do you think the existing laws or say the upcoming laws might solve that issue?
Right. See, there are, of course, a whole host of potential threats. The online space can give rise to, um, all kinds of attacks from uh, uh, from regular cyber fraud to phishing to uh, identity theft. There are people who uh, made such activities a core part of their business model. So to understand that, to understand how such individuals work is important, and to understand these threats. Uh, and that is why the more we break these threats down, the more we can quantify, classify, and understand them. Uh, so, for example, threats need to be laid, threadbare in the simplest form. Uh, People need to be told that, look, this is what is happening online, and these are the scams that you can fall for. And if they are well described, then people know what to look out for. Otherwise, to use a analogy that might not perfectly fit, but you'll get the point. Otherwise it will be just be like the mother in the fairy tale telling Red Riding Hood to beware while going through the forest, but not telling Red Riding Hood what to look out for, or how to spot the big bad wolf, or how to deal with the big bad wolf, when to call for help, when to utilize resources on her own, how to tell when the big bad wolf is impersonating the grandmother. So all of these things need to be handled in detail, which goes to a very fundamental way of tackling any problem. And that is to be honest with ourselves about where we have failed in the past without necessarily allocating blame. So if there have been smart hackers or smart professionals who have got the better of your company's cybersecurity framework, then there should be no shame associated with telling the world that, look, we did our best, but we fell prey to such and such criminals. Unfortunately, the shame associated with many of these things holds us back. And I think that that preparedness, documenting and communicating how you dealt with the crises, being honest about it, and uh, you know, uh, helping train people for the future. I think that is perhaps the most important role for anyone who's in a position of responsibility. How do you prepare? And when time comes, how do you pass the baton to the next person who's going to be there after you?
Sir, adding to your analogy, don't you think that the big bad wolf in our story is constantly changing? Like the paradigm, the dynamics of the internet give rise to, say, a new problem every day. A new type of cyber criminal is born every day. And now, consider taking that into consideration, how do you suggest that? Because I think you and people in your firm and people who are constantly working in the field of tech are very up to date with tech. But for the general masses, what do you suggest that how can they be updated, up to date with whatever is happening? And what do you think should be their approach to, being protected of all the cybercrimes that may or may not happen in future?
Right. First of all, each one of us should understand the basics of the architecture of the devices we use, how security can be compromised. For example, one need not be a perimeter security expert to understand that a criminal can come through the window or the door of your house, home, or flat. How to secure it, how to be aware, what kind of passwords to use. Simple things that can get us a long way. So once we've done the basics, we make it more and more difficult. The second aspect is to understand what security companies are doing. Security companies are making it more and more difficult for hackers and cyber criminals. Social media platforms are not too far behind in keeping things secure. But it's incumbent on us also to be alert, to recognize, uh, patterns that are out of sync or are strange, and take immediate action, and see ourselves as owners, complete owners of tech, and complete users. And no ownership or use is complete without understanding the liabilities and the drawbacks as well.
Well said, sir. Apart from the challenges that the individuals are facing, there's one more thing that, is a problem to, say, not just the individuals and the people or entities, but to the government as well. That is the cross-border nature of cyber crimes. Is that, in simpler words, the criminal may not even be in your own territorial jurisdiction. So, how do you think the cyber crimes nature, cross-border nature of cyber crimes affects the victims at large? And how do you think is the government or are the lawmakers currently addressing the same? And what, in your opinion, should be the ideal way to address the cross-border nature of cyber crimes, especially in a country like ours?
Right, right. So, excellent question. I think, first of all, we have certain mechanisms to pursue cyber criminals, to collect evidence. Uh, Awareness about those should be made available to all people involved, especially to law enforcement. I've come across many a times people in law enforcement not knowing the kind of tools that are available, the kind of mechanisms, the kind of apparatus that's available under Indian law. So first, be cognizant of that. Second, that there will always be a lag or elements in foreign cooperation, notwithstanding things like treaties, Interpol, it's a cyber cooperation. There are lots of things which are happening in the world. I think that we need to be active and doing things. Part of our establishment or part of any conservative establishment anywhere in the world is that we tend to be a bit shy, if not fearful, of making mistakes. So I think the important thing is to go after, to track down these criminals, these people who might be hiding somewhere or using cloaking devices. uh, it's also incumbent on governments to look at the kind of technology being used as by um, potential cyber criminals, and to see whether there's any way of regulating the use of those technologies, because you have emailing uh, tools and software that easily mask or cloak or hide identity. You have um, software which can be potentially used to either conceal or otherwise obstruct search. So all of these tools also need to be looked in. So this is a complex and evolving area, and I think in the end there's no substitute for um, the determination to go after someone who is committed a serious crime. And I think there are several examples of law enforcement around the world who've gone after people who've committed crimes, and they've really been dogged in their determination, in their attempts to see that the crime is solved. So of course in the ultimate analysis there's no substitute for that.
Right, sir. Also, I would like to talk about, I'd like to divert the topic and talk about certain new things in the market. We've seen Chat GPT come around, and Chat GPT has revolutionized the internet, be it for students, be it for professionals. So, what do you think? It's a very common question. Is there a chance that, the human mind, or say the human input into things, may be replaced by AI in the near future? And if not, how do you think that the law comes into place to restrict that, this is the line for AI to not cross, and this is where the human interventions lie, else AI might, succeed the human populace.
Right, right. No, interesting and heavily loaded question. And I'll try not to launch off into a long answer, but the first aspect of any regulation, in my opinion, is honesty. Honesty of purpose. What is our real goal? What do we intend to achieve? Because if we were to uh, look at AI, look at generative AI, look at the systems and tools we are dealing with, can we deconstruct and break them down into the algorithms, into what is intended for the algorithms to do, into what is actually being done? So, first of all, is there a gap between the purpose for which this software, this algorithm has been created, and what it is actually doing? Second, is there a framework for us to study bias and look at any sort of bias or preferential treatment or anything else that has crept in? So, in short, uh, are we looking at a framework, a model that can be subject to rigorous auditing? Uh, then comes the issue of whether the threat is real or not, or exaggerated. To what extent is that threat going to prove real? Because see, it needs to be quantified. It needs to be something that we can actually measure and talk about. Unless, of course, we've got no idea of what's going to come. Unless suddenly we wake up in the morning or in the middle of the night, we see the sky full of comets and asteroids, and they're all going to land on the Earth, and we are going to meet the same fates as the dinosaurs allegedly did. So, first of all, can we see? Can we predict? Um, are we auditing AI? Are we looking at all possible harms? And are we in any way overestimating intelligence? The kind of conversations around AI that's happening. See, the buzz, the excitement is truly awesome. But to have a ridiculous conversation like I was watching online the other day, people talking about who is smarter, Chat GPT or a newborn baby. Now, such kind of things are absolutely ridiculous. I mean, either this is fun and games, which is fine, or entertainment or sensational. Or, but people who are predicting risk and especially doomsday kind of risk, uh, please, for heaven's sake, quantify it. Tell us where are we at the stage of the risk? How soon is this apocalypse going to come upon us, and how soon are robots going to take over the world? You know, people have to be realistic. The second point is that how are we getting there without any plan to audit the effect of these machines? And if these machines are so smart, how is it that I'm guiding the capture every time? I'm still telling it about red lights and about traffic signals and about bicycles and buses.
Yeah, sir.
If
So
it were
continuing
that
with the
smart,
second
then
part
it
of
could
your
have
answer to
figured
the
that out
previous
on its own.
question regarding robots and the
Right.
apocalypse that might be coming.
Yeah, because the funniest thing is that this apocalypse has been threatened. It's a part of the dire warning. But uh, we have to be real. First of all, uh, is Chat GPT or any other uh, AI tool capable of subverting intent, of giving it itself the power to, take on and destroy the ecosphere? Uh, Perhaps at this stage, not. Could this happen? Well, it could. But surely we have tools and an audit mechanism for us to understand what it will take to reach that stage. Second, for us to look at what the algorithm was intended for and how it is being used or misused. So, if we have an audit framework, then that will solve most of our problems. The second problem is of intent. What do we intend to do? Do we intend to actually hand over control? And if so, how much control? What will be the result? What will be the outcome of that sort of scenario? The next important point for us is to look at the present misinformation, the present security flaws, and of course, the present threat, the real threat to privacy, which occurs, by this sort of asymmetric deployment of these tools. Years ago, we were warned of a digital divide, and thankfully, as you rightly pointed out at the beginning of this discussion, India has um, probably the world's largest number of people who are accessing the internet from their phones. Everyone appears to have UPI, is making payments. It's a wonderful scenario. Um, AI tools need to be made accessible for everyone. At the same time, threats need to be qualified and quantified. Now, I, for one, am as excited as anybody else about the end of the world. I'm sure it'll be a great time for everyone, but we need to understand how we are going to get there. Otherwise, it will be something as vague that, bad things are going to happen. So, those who are predicting doom, I respect them and I want to listen to them. But surely they cannot get away with making blanket statements without backing them up with some sort of a credible basis as well as a roadmap. If there's something that has a flaw, it's like me saying that the building I'm sitting in will catch fire any moment. Now that's a real possibility. But what have I done to mitigate it? Just saying that let's halt, let's not do anything. Let's now revert to going back and living in the mountain in caves because there's much lesser likelihood of fire there. So one needs to be logical. So I'm very surprised, Satvik. I'm really shocked sometimes at uh, the kind of doomsday statements that are being made by people in technology, people in responsible positions within these AI companies, which goes to um, contribute, of course, to some kind of doubt as to what is the motive behind these statements. Is there a motive? And are we looking at it as part of another a plan of sorts? So, well, that is the long and short of it from my end.
Sir, adding to your point, the controversial statements made by people in charge in the tech field, uh, in your opinion, do you think is it to create a buzz around the product being the AI that they built, or do you think are they aware of what can be the consequences of an uncontrolled AI? So what do you think? Is it a marketing strategy? Is it a warning? What is the reason behind making such statements in your opinion?
See, I can't say beyond the point. I'm sure there's some genuine concern. I'm sure that people are well intentioned and they have a genuine concern. My answer to that is that see, by getting all panicky and saying that doomsday is around the corner, that's not the way to solve a problem. The way to solve a problem is by having an action plan that deconstructs the risk, that allocates or provides weightage. After all, we look at risk, technologists look at risk. There's so many professions that look at risk. And if you look at risk from an insurer's perspective, it is, one of the ways of mitigating it is to put a rupee or a dollar value to that risk. To say that, this is how, uh, or this is the damage that can be caused. In this case, of course, I'd like to know also how the damage can be caused so we can avoid it. And of course, there just has to be one statement of sorts which can be picked up by the media. And of course, there's lots of excitement around that. That's a separate issue. So if someone says that uh, robots are going to take over the world, I would like to say that robots who are taking over the world, jobs that are being made redundant, human beings who are being left without livelihood, why don't we start by addressing their problems first? Instead of going into doomsday mode and talking about a proverbial Skynet, which is going to take over the world, a lot like the Terminator movies. Instead of going down that path, why don't we look at the kind of misinformation that's being spread today? Why don't we look at existing harmful algorithms? We do an audit right now of algorithms that can be used or are being used, case studies on how they've been used to cause harm. what are the bias in predictive policing, and how can we address that? Once we tackle this, we are on the way to having a neutral system. And one last thing, when we talk about a neutral system, we have to include people from all walks of life. I would like to sincerely like to see mental health professionals being involved in the mental health aspects of um, software. I would like to see more lawyers embracing tech and them being involved in policy work. I would like to see professions of all sorts. I would dearly love to see historians being involved, because they've seen cycles of great hope, rise, power, doom, and gloom. We've seen empires rise and fall, and they are also well equipped to look at risk from a historical standpoint.
Correct, sir. So, adding to your point and a question to that point, you want people from all walks of life to, participate in the advent and the progress of technology and how technology helps the humankind. Uh, us being law students, or even if we take people from other fields of study, for example, what do you think if somebody wants to say pursue a career in tech, or as lawyers I say somebody wants to pursue a career in cyber law or tech law, what do you think is the should the approach be, and what do you think are the skills that should be required to be developed when somebody decides to enter the field of tech? What should they expect and what should they come prepared with?
Right. Satvik, excellent question as always, and very broad, and also something that puts me in the spot. I can only talk from my limited experience, in that I found the area of tech very exciting and a way to approach each and every, or rather, a way to revisit each and every topic of law that I had learned as a young lawyer or in law school, to come back to that with a fresh perspective, with the perspective of the internet. So, if we talk about freedom of speech, or whether we talk about uh, intellectual property, or whether we talk about commercial contracts, each one of them gets a nice new dimension as well as a healthy way of relooking at it. So, the first important thing is to approach it from the perspective of a student looking to gather knowledge, looking to test hypotheses, looking to look at models of knowledge and learning. And I think that irrespective of whether one is wanting to be a practicing internet lawyer or not, this area is exciting. Second, that I started the end of my previous sentence, which all of us in the future will be tech lawyers, because tech has and will be even more of a part of our lives. It'll be all pervasive. It'll be like the air, like a spirit that's always there. So it doesn't matter whether you're practicing constitutional law or administrative proceedings, or whether you are doing an M&A contract. Tech will be all over. So it's important for us to embrace it, um, to be able to deconstruct it, to be able to look at it from every perspective, or rather, from every perspective that we can. And also, at the end of the day, like any intelligent being, to understand our limitation, and of course, to be able to uh, reach out to whoever has the necessary knowledge. Because in today's day and age, if there was a cyber incident, and if there was a typical or particular type of technology being used to access or infiltrate a system which I know nothing about, then I would reach out to uh, a, an expert in the area. I would have my questions ready and I would try to understand it from scratch. I would try to build uh, a little bit of knowledge before asking a further set of questions, and that's how we go along. So I think having an inquisitive mind, which I believe that everyone does have at the age we are all in law school, I think that's a it's a very important thing, a very important approach to have for your entire life. Keep uh, continue to be curious, to be hungry for information, and of course, uh, like they say, I'm sorry, it sounds very cliched, but read, and read some more.
Uh, that is that is the end of my set of questions, and you might think it is cliche, but it's always a thought-provoking and intriguing discussion that I have with you. And this is the primary reason why I wanted to have this interview, is to have this thought-provoking aspect be spread to people, that people also think why tech is important and what should be the idea to get into tech. So yeah, that is the end of my question, sir. If you want to talk about anything else, if you have anything else to say towards the end of the interview, the floor is yours. I don't have any more questions to say.
No, first of all, Satvik, I uh, reciprocate that sentiment. I always enjoy talking to you. I enjoy our interactions, and I think it's important that um, you know organizations like yours, initiatives like yours, like Tasveer, uh, are constant and uh, almost relentless at trying to spread awareness, because uh, despite the IT Act being maybe nearly 23 years old this year, uh, there are lots and lots of people who are touched by technology who do not understand the basics. There are lots of people who want to help. I do believe that law enforcement in India wants to help, but their hands are tied, or they have a limited resource base, or they don't understand how they could contribute. So I think it's very important that you continue this, and of course, for me, it's very important that I continue talking to you, and hopefully, you can have another set of questions for me soon, and I can be back with another round of chat. Maybe by then, uh, folks would have discovered a few more things. Maybe we'll have the Digital India Act. Maybe we'll have a new privacy law, or maybe finally our colleagues will discover what's so evil about AI, and we will be able to have a discussion on that. See, any excuse to come back and talk to all of you at Tasveer. Thank you so much. Thank you, Satvik. Thank you, Ishita.
Thank
And
you so much,
look
sir.
forward. Look forward to many more sessions like this.
Sure, sir. Thank you
Thanks a
so
lot, sir.